This thing on?
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I'm your host, Christian Williams, and I am joined, as always, by Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing good. Long day, drinking a beer right now, definitely. But signed a new lease today, and so this will be second to last episode, ever in this Airbnb.
Big congrats, man. We'll have to talk about that off the air. I didn't know that. That's news to me. That's
I was
exciting.
surprised.
It's exciting. That's great stuff. We are here to talk through our Dynasty wide receiver and tight end rankings. If you guys missed the last couple of episodes, we've gone over our quarterbacks and running backs in the last two episodes, right? Yep. We didn't have a skip or anything like that. So go check those out. And we don't have a whole lot else to talk about, so I think we're just going to dive right into our wide receivers and tight ends. We normally do league news here, but really all the news is going to be outdated in like a day when half these guys sign their contracts and they're not holding out anymore. And I just don't feel like talking about the Deshaun Watson stuff that has come out today. So, without further ado, do you have anything to add before we just jump right into our wide receivers?
No.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so our wide receiver ones in Dynasty. Remember, this is our consensus rankings. Randy and I, and then a couple others at the cut. Adam, Sean, I think are the other two that have ranked for these. Shout out to those guys for helping us put together our consensus. It really evens out my insane wide receiver rankings, but let's just dive into it. Number 1, Jamar Chase. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. Number 3, Cooper Kupp. Number 4, CeeDee Lamb. Number 5, A.J. Brown. Number 6, Deebo Samuel. Number 7, Devontae Adams. Number 8, Jalen Waddle. Number 9, Stephon Diggs. Number 10, Drake London. Number 11, T. Higgins. And number 12, I'm glad he got in there, Deontay Johnson.
You're goddamn right. It's too low, too.
It is too low. That's actually for both of us a little lower, so it's the others pulling it down. But what stands out to you first and foremost here?
I think we have to start with Drake London. We are 11 spots higher than consensus, and we'll kind of see that trend go down here with the wide receivers from this rookie class against Fantasy Pros consensus, that is. We are really high at these receivers, and I mean, they are all really, really talented, and this is Dynasty. So I think an influx of really talented, good young guys. There is a solid mix of, like this kind of an older receiver. I don't really want to say that, but up there in the 27 to 30 age, that's up here and a little bit lower as well. That I think these young guys in these heavily target situations can really put up big numbers to compete with them this year. And then as the teams get better, they can compete. So Drake London is the prime example of that, being the only one in the top wide receiver ones here. I don't have him that high. I know that. So do you remember where you have him?
I do. I have my ranking sitting here, and I am the reason that he is in our top 12. I have him at wide receiver 4 in Dynasty. And let me explain why.
Yeah. So
really quick.
Right before you do, I have him at 18. And I think I generally am more of a conservative ranker. Just pointing that out first. So
you are. And I kind of talked about this. I think when I look at Dynasty rankings, my main focus is I want to be a year ahead of everyone, because if I'm a year ahead of everyone, that means that I was ahead on that value, and then I was able to capitalize on said value ahead of time. For example, right now, I would draft in rookie drafts. Drake London is my 102 fairly easily. I would take him right after Breece Hall without question. And the reason for that, so Drake London over the last 3 classes grades out as my wide receiver 6. So I had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, this is correct. Rashad Bateman, Jalen Waddle, Drake London. You might ask, well, why don't you have all of those guys ahead of Drake London? Situation, I think, plays a role in that. I think I could make an argument that I'm too low on CeeDee Lamb, but I do think that CeeDee Lamb was definitely helped out by Amari Cooper, and I think that situation is going to be a little murkier this year. And so I'm a little lower on CeeDee. I'm the reason why he's our 4 as well. But regarding Drake London, he's 20 years old. He does not turn 21 until later in July. So he will technically head into his he'll actually head into his first camp as a 21-year-old. So young prospect, elite production, really great film. What's that?
I'm just thinking of how it would have been if I turned 21 in Atlanta. Oh, God.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I turned 21 in Cleveland, and that was a whole different situation.
Right. And I will say with Drake London too, I think a lot of people are knocking him because of his situation. And I actually find the opposite to be true, because what you're looking at is the Falcons did not spend high capital on a quarterback in this class, but there is the off chance that Desmond Ridder is good, and Desmond Ridder is the future there. There's a more likely scenario in which the Falcons are picking very, very high in 2023, and they're able to pair one of the top quarterbacks in the 2023 NFL draft with Drake London and Kyle Pitts as the 2 primary pass catchers, with Calvin Ridley coming back. I think Drake London will be good enough as a rookie to command a high target share from that new rookie quarterback next year. I just think that when we look back at where we ranked, even Jamar Chase heading into last year, I think he was probably closer to a wide receiver 1, but people were a little more conservative with him. I just don't view ranking that way. I look at it as, in 2023, where will I have Drake London? And if I think I'll have him top 5, I'm going to rank him there this year and just try to get ahead of it.
Well, in fairness, there's, you brought up CeeDee Lamb is in a slightly different scenario. With Amari Cooper gone, most people see that as a bonus. I do as well, but there is some contention there. We've seen many receivers be worse off when the other top target goes away. Jalen Waddle adds in a new top target that drops him down. We don't know where Debo is going to be necessarily. That puts him in a little bit of a bind. With Drake, and then A.J. Brown obviously moved to a different team. So with Drake London, the reason we were a little bit conservative with Jamar Chase last year is he's not a target monster. He's a big play receiver. We saw that in college. Ironically, we had the 2 LSU receivers back to back here, and that's how they finished when they were in college as well. Jamar Chase got the yards, got the touchdowns, didn't get the receptions though. That was Justin Jefferson, and so that's kind of where you have to try and decide what you think Drake London is going to be. I think he's going to be a target hog this year. I would not be shocked if he had over 120 targets this year. This is an atrocious attacking offense with very limited weapons. I don't see how he doesn't have a really good year. I think him and Kyle Pitts both easily eclipse 1,000 yards this year. And, while the team's going to be bad, it'll be the fantasy bright spot, and possibly Cordell Patterson or Algier as well. But I think Mariota keeps the reins, kind of like you alluded to, where Ritter's the next year phase as he, gets the year to sit, which he desperately needs. And I think both of our opinion to really be his best self when he first starts. I view him as ready as kind of like Mahomes was, and please, this is not a Mahomes comparison, but
that's what you said.
Well, it's the same with Drew Lock as well. So let's go both ends here,
right.
Where we both felt like if he comes in at the end of the year for a few reps, that's the best thing for him. But if he sits, that's the best thing for him as well. And that's what happened with both of those guys. Both looked really good in that stint. The crews have kind of gone separate ways since then. But honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Ritter's right in the middle of those. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I actually have them flipped in my personal rankings. I have Justin Jefferson as my dynasty wide receiver 1. I have Jamar Chase there at 2, and that is the tier for me. Like that.
Yeah,
If you can't get one of those two super early in dynasty startups, or if you're targeting, you say I want to get an absolute stud without question, I would target Justin Jefferson. The reason I would target Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase at this point, T. Higgins is a thing, and people love to hate on me about my T. Higgins pre-draft ranking, and then also my ranking of him last year. I just didn't think he was that good, but I was wrong, and he is really quite a talented wide receiver. And ultimately, Justin Jefferson is not going to be dealing with Adam Thielen for much longer. Adam Thielen's getting really old. Justin Jefferson could lead the league in yards every year for the next 7. I know that Minnesota traditionally hasn't passed a whole lot, but they've alluded to going to a more modern offense this year. So I do think that the wide receiver 1 upside's there with Jefferson.
here's the thing. I think Justin Jefferson could be top 3 in the league in targets and receptions, and Jamar Chase could still outpace him in yards and touchdowns. So when we're talking about that, especially in a PPR setting, so let's be fair, I have that as basically even. And the reason I have Jamar Chase over Jefferson at that point, where it's a toss-up, is we know who's throwing Jamar Chase the ball for the next decade. The plain and simple.
Yeah, and I hear that argument as well. I just think when I think of like quarterback proof players, I think Justin Jefferson pretty easily. Like
that very well could be true, but still, I think Jamar Chase is pretty quarterback proof as well. We know what the quarterback is, and he's proved himself. Whereas Kirk Cousins is on 2 seasons here at best, I would say, and he really hasn't proved himself past being a good quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else from our ones that surprised you?
I'm a little surprised how high we were on Waddle still. We were still 4 spots higher than consensus. Obviously him being this young and as productive as he was last year is why he's still up there. I have him at 14 though. I have Hill at 9. So I'm taking the proven commodity that's done more than just catch dump offs basically. And obviously we know Waddle can do all the other stuff, but I mean, Tyreek Hill is not coming in to be second fiddle.
I agree.
At least for the first 2 years.
Well, here's the thing, though. He's not coming in to be second fiddle, but we know what Tua is and who he – now I know we've seen a lot of the training camp hype already, or not training camp, but OTA and camp hype already with Tua and Tyreek getting on the same page. But the reason that has been at the forefront is because him and Waddle are already on the same page. They've played together for years now. And I do think I'm putting stock into that. And I think Tyreek can still be a wide receiver 1. And I'm lower on Tyreek mostly because of age. I mean, I think we've got 2 good years of Tyreek left, maybe 3. It's really tough when you've got a 28-year-old player that relies on speed because we've seen those types of guys fall off really quickly. Whereas we've got Waddle, 5 years younger, also relies on speed. But I don't think we've seen Waddle's ceiling at all. A lot of people have pushed back. I'm the reason Waddle's here. Again, I'm the reason for a lot of this. Waddle's my wide receiver 3 in Dynasty. I am going to ride the elite rookie production, and I know that the situation is very different now. But I think that Waddle does have that wide receiver 1 upside as well, like the overall wide receiver 1 upside if this Miami offense clicks. And there's also there's a chance that Tua isn't the one throwing. And then maybe I was wrong here, but I'm trying to get ahead of it where I still do view Waddle as better than Tyreek at this point, or more valuable than Tyreek. He's not better.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
And, we have seen speed, kill the aging veterans. And that point is correct, but we've also never seen Tyreek Hill. So, and no one no one is Tyreek Hill. No one can replace him, at least until the next generation of athletes, it feels like. And I just don't see him like aging terribly, at least for, a majority of his contract. So, I mean, if they change quarterbacks, we have no idea with either of them at this point. So,
Right.
from Tua, I'm just assuming it's a force feed to Tyreek. We've seen him be unhappy with not getting his targets before. I don't see that going away either, especially when he's getting paid all this money. The team's going to feed him. So that's where I kind of defer. But also, Waddle, I still think we still have to see that next level of proof to have him that high. And I just think it's fair. I can't have a top 12 without having Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and Tyreek Hill. It's the same as you can't have a top 3 without Kelsey. When we get to that, you just can't.
Yeah, I get that. I think I did when I put together my rankings. I am valuing age a lot more than I used to. I think because I've seen a couple of my rosters start to turn over and get to that aging level, and I kind of let it get out of control. And so as I'm looking at value moving forward, I've kind of maybe overcorrected in my own personal rankings. But I think that's one strategy of ranking too. And other people see it. There are some people that have Devontae Adams as a top 5 dynasty wide receiver still. I don't think he's that high personally. I don't know what you've got him at, but
6.
Okay. So no, you're on the right side of history. Although he's on your Raiders now, so I figured he would be top 5. All right, let's get into our wide receiver 2s. Are you ready for those?
Yep.
Okay. Number 13, DK Metcalf. Number 14, Tyreek Hill. Number 15, Chris Godwin. Number 16, Garrett Wilson. Number 17, DJ Moore. 18, Rashad Bateman. 19, Michael Pittman Jr. 20, Devontae Smith. 21, Elijah Moore. 22, Terry McLaurin. 23, Jamison Williams. 24, Mike Evans. What stands out?
Okay. So I'm going to start off with Terry McLaurin, actually, because there are 2 that stand out more, but I think we have to start with him. We're 6 spots lower than consensus.
Mm-hmm.
They have yet to really improve the quarterback room since he's been there. I do have Terry at 15 in my rankings, so I am kind of on consensus, actually a little bit above there. And that's just a pure talent thing. But he is one of the older, first contract receivers as well. So I get it. But there's a lot of people like Michael Pittman ranked higher and Wilson that, really haven't done anything. So while I do appreciate putting the rookies up there, trust me, I have Terry McLaurin easily ahead of Drake London. And this time next year, very well could be the exact opposite. I'm definitely not questioning that, but as of right now, for my rankings, that's where it stands. Any comment on that one?
Well, I was just gonna say, so I'm low on McLaurin, and the reason I'm low on McLaurin, I've been a believer in McLaurin. He's one of my biggest targets last year, the year before. I do think that the Carson Wentz experiment's going to fail. And so the whole quarter, we're going to go through Terry. Yeah, well, I'm hoping, but I mean, the whole Terry McLaurin experience, his entire career, we may look at a just bad quarterback play the entire time. And then you factor in that they did draft Jahan Dotson with an early pick. And there are reports that while at rookie minicamp, Jahan Dotson was tearing it up, and I'm not super high on Dotson, but I do think that he will be more of a target getter than McLaurin has dominated the target share there. It's been him and Logan Thomas. When you introduce Logan Thomas back into the offense when he's healthy, I do think that you're going to see a much lower target share, and I think that was the thing that kept McLaurin so high because the targets are less valuable in that Washington offense. Add in that they brought back J.D. McKissick, so they clearly have a role for a pass-catching running back. They have Antonio Gibson that they're going to try to use in that type of role, I think, now too, with the addition of Brian Robinson. I just don't know what this offense looks like next year, and I don't know if he's going to be able to hold that high value, even though we have seen him do it with bad quarterback play. Like he's another player that I think is somewhat quarterback-proof, but the targets are where I get a little nervous moving forward.
We shall see, but I mean, every rookie's dominated rookie camp. So those reports I kind of just kick out the window. So back to the rookies, where this is where we differ the most. Um, Garrett Wilson, we have 15 spots higher than consensus, and Jameson Williams, we have 11 spots higher than consensus. Um,
My
I
fault. Sorry.
It is your fault. Don't get me wrong. Everything's your fault. But I have Garrett Wilson at 21. So it's really not that bad. And I have Jameson Williams at 28. So while I am, lower, it's not by this obscene margin. It's like 5 each. And again, more conservative with the rookies for me personally. So, maybe they're a little high. It may be like closer to mine where I think they should be, obviously, because that's my rankings. But, Wilson is, I think, in both of our opinions, the best receiver in that room now. And he has the benefit of, if Wilson does not work out, it really doesn't stop him from being a top receiver because he still has enough of a rookie contract to replenish the quarterback room there. So I do think his talent, his ability to separate, his ability to get up and just win up top and in body control, I think he's easily a wide receiver too. So I do agree that he should be up here. Jameson Williams, he's not going to be a wide receiver 2 this year. So I think that's why people still have him lower. And that's why I have him as wide receiver 3, because I don't expect him to be a very, very productive receiver this year. We've talked in the past. I expect him to have kind of like a Rashad Bateman season from last year just because of the injury thing. Same with Bateman. And I think Jameson Williams this time next year will be at this ranking for pretty much everyone. So I just think we're a year early, and I'm perfectly fine with that on James Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, besides that, we're 4 spots lower on DJ Moore, 4 spots higher Devonta Smith. I think those are more negligible with those names, just because of the situations they're in. I think everyone's kind of tossed up on where those guys are going to go.
Yeah. So a lot to unpack there. The first point I wanted to make, so I mentioned this is my fault. I have Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 13. I think that Garrett Wilson is a top tier wide receiver prospect. I had him right behind Drake London, and I just talked about how highly I regard Drake London. And specifically, I have him 1 spot ahead of Elijah Moore in my pre-draft rankings. Of course, situations change things, and that's, again, why Rashad Bateman is actually below Garrett Wilson for me, even though I thought of him as more highly as a prospect. With Wilson, though, like you said, another quarterback proof type of guy. I just think that the way he wins is very easily translatable. I think there's a chance, after seeing some of the OTA clips, I think there's a chance they try him in the slot instead of Elijah Moore, which I think could be beneficial to that offense. I think that they are very interchangeable. I think those are the wide receiver 1 and 2 in 2 wide receiver sets. And so obviously this is a knock on Corey Davis. Corey Davis, I think, still has some value, and Elijah Moore couldn't stay healthy last year. Garrett Wilson has a small frame, so I think that concern still does sit there. But I do think that Garrett Wilson will have a good rookie year, and therefore I think people will start to look at him as a younger prospect that should be a high wide receiver 2, maybe even back end 1 by the end of this time next year, I guess, is what I would say.
Yeah, we'll see. Garrett Wilson's my wide receiver 1 in the draft class. So, I mean, obviously, I do love his talent. It's just that, like we kind of brought up earlier with like Tyreek and Waddle and Higgins and Chase, it's the target share thing. We'll see how it pans out. Same with McLaurin, we just talked about as well. So with Wilson, the reason he's behind London for both of us is Elijah Moore. It's plain and simple. But I think both are very, very talented receivers, Wilson and Williams, and I'm perfectly fine with them being wide receiver 2s in these rankings. I do think they deserve it. And while they might not be proven this year, I think it'll be proven right by this time in 2 years.
Yeah. The other piece of that I wanted to discuss is DJ Moore. So the DJ Moore thing is really fascinating to me, and I think that it stems from he was very much so a film and analytics married type of prospect. Everyone really liked DJ Moore, and everyone still likes DJ Moore, and DJ Moore really hasn't produced to the level that you would like discuss him. What is his consensus rank then? I mean, so he would be wide receiver 13 in consensus.
Yeah.
If he's wide receiver 13 in consensus, that would then be the highest he's ever finished in points per game. He's just never done it, and the situation has not gotten better. And so I know we're very much a talent versus situation. I would bet on talent, but the situation has proven to be harmful to DJ Moore. And it, again, maybe we see Baker Mayfield roll in, maybe we see Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe that's really good for DJ Moore. But also, I would rather view him as what he is, and that's a wide receiver 2, and like a middle tier or a back end wide receiver 2, in my opinion. And that's also my fault. That's why I wanted to bring it up. He's my wide receiver 23 in Dynasty.
Oh, I mean, he's my 16. So I think we're right where he's at.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the range. Like middle to back end wide receiver 2 is exactly what I think he is. The player that we didn't mention that I wanted to talk about really quickly is Devontae Smith. How are you viewing him moving forward with A.J. Brown entering that offense? Obviously, the Eagles are going to pass more. There's been a lot of debate on if they're going to be still a run-first team. They were the best running team in football. Well, they went out and kind of proved that they do need to pass more, want to pass more in paying A.J. Brown what they did. So how do you view that? Do you think that there's a chance that Devontae Smith is actually the wide receiver 1 there ever? No?
No.
Okay.
Mainly because I think while he does win, like this is one of those situations where like you have Waddle higher than Hill, everyone has A.J. Brown higher than Devonta Smith, and it's rightfully so. Devonta Smith played really well last year, but nowhere near to expectations, being the wide receiver 1 of this team. Now he's going to be the wide receiver 2, and he can really kind of just win on his own now. A.J. Brown's going to get his. He's going to get fed. Same thing as I brought up with Hill. When you're paid like that, man, like if you're not getting the targets, people are upset. You're upset. The team's upset. The fans are upset. The owner's upset that he's paying that fucking money, and you're getting 2 targets a game. It's just not going to fly. So in a lesser throwing offense, where I do think we've seen enough from Hurts that I think you need to open it up and really truly see if he is your guy. I think that's the only way you're going to. So a better passing attack. I have him ranked as the wide receiver 24, so the last wide receiver 2. And I think that's probably around where he's going to finish, just because I just don't see this enormous uptick in passing volume for this offense. And honestly, they're not going to be the number 1 rushing attack this year. I can tell you that right now. It doesn't fucking matter if they change the plays at all. The only reason they were is because Baker was hurt and Lamar was hurt and Dobbins was hurt and Gus Edwards was the Ravens and Browns and probably the Steelers, which is hell of ironic, are going to be the top rushing offenses. It's just plain simple.
Yeah.
49ers will be there. Yeah.
Colts, I still think, but they went and got a quarterback upgrade, so maybe they start to pass more as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the reason I would feel comfortable with Devontae Smith is honestly, in Dynasty, I wouldn't really love having him as my wide receiver 2. I would want him as my 3.
Yeah, 3.
Because I think that you're going to have a lot of volatility in his week-to-week output. I know that's kind of been A.J. Brown's MO, but that was also Devontae Smith's MO last year. I think that they were both equally inconsistent. A.J. Brown's is mostly due to injury, 9 times out of 10. But that's another thing. If A.J. Brown does go down, then you can start to see where Devontae Smith might end up finishing higher than him. But there's a chance that A.J. Brown could miss half the season and still finish higher than Devontae Smith because A.J. Brown is talented, very talented.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 3s, you ready?
Yep.
All right. 25, Amari Cooper. 26, DeAndre Hopkins. 27, Darnell Mooney. 28, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 29, Marquise Brown. 30, Mike Williams. 31, Traylon Burks. 32, Chris Olave. 33, Keenan Allen. 34, Jerry Jeudy. 35, Cortland Sutton. 36, Sky Moore. A lot to here. What's the first thing you want to tackle?
Okay, let's start on the top. We are 4 spots higher, DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's a little bit disrespectful. Maybe people are knocking him down because of the suspension. He's still, a back-end wide receiver 1, most weeks. That's what you're expecting from him. He can give you 3 touchdown games in an instant. So I think it's a little bit disrespectful. We're also +5 on Darnell Mooney. I think that's because we're smart. I don't understand why people are still disrespecting Darnell Mooney when he's clearly the alpha of this passing game. And, with a full year under command with Justin Fields, those two had a pretty good connection all throughout the preseason and through the season last year. I think that continues this year, and he ascends into a wide receiver 2 category most weeks, if not wide receiver 1. That's not necessarily where he finishes, but I think he has that opportunity. This is a little bit, at times an anemic offense, but we also get to see a whole different set of play calling. So hopefully that rejuvenates this. So I do think he should be higher on most people's boards. I'll let you go back on those 2 first because there's a lot more in this section.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure. So I am a little lower on Hopkins. So while I agree with your assessment of it, I certainly understand ranking him lower simply because you're looking at the suspension at the beginning of this year. There's a chance that he's going to lose a step just with his age getting up there. I don't think it happens just yet. I do think that he does hold wide receiver 2 value kind of after this year. But I just, again, tried to get a year ahead. He's already 30. I think by the time I'm looking at 31, 32, that's where I start to get a little nervous having Hopkins on my roster. But I also think that based on this, he's a good buy. Like if you're in current Dynasty leagues, I think that's a perfect target. He mentioned Mooney. Mooney is my wide receiver 27. He's right there for me. I think that with the Bears failing to get legitimate weapons for Justin Fields, we'll talk about that. I know I had a tweet saying that the situation isn't that bad. It's not, because the scheme's going to mask that, but you still want guys that can go get buckets. Mooney is the only guy on that offense or in that wide receiver room that can get a bucket, in my opinion. And I just think that the targets are going to be there. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. I think that people are vastly undervaluing what Mooney is in terms of talent and rapport with the quarterback, and they will both be there for at least the next 3 years. So 2 years for Mooney. 2 years for Mooney. Those two, I like where they're ranked. Darnell Mooney, again, he's my 27. He's our 27 total. So a good spot for him. What's the next thing you want to tackle, though?
Okay, so I think we finish this section with the rookies just because we have to continue to talk about our differences and rankings in those. I want to talk about 33 through 35, which is wrong. I just want that pointed out just right now. Keenan Allen, we're 7 spots lower than consensus. Jerry Jeudy, we're 11 spots lower consensus. Cortland Sutton, we're 7 spots lower. I want to point out something real quick. Jerry Jeudy is my wide receiver 19.
Oh, wow.
I fully believe, and I have Sutton at 33, so I'm pretty close to our consensus on that. I have Keenan Allen at 25. So we're usually, I think that's respectable with, how top he finishes. Let me go. Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 19. He's better than Tyler Lockett, first off. And people are comparing this very, very quickly to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf being the guy that you want, the consistent option, even though neither were fucking consistent. But Cortland Sutton's not fucking DK Metcalf. Let's just point that out, plain and simple. Jerry Jeudy's way better than Tyler Lockett at this stage of his career. Jerry Jeudy is one of the most highly scouted and graded prospects I've ever dealt with. I think every time we've seen him fully healthy, we've seen really good things and what we wanted to see. Besides, parts of the rookie year where he had a lot of drop issues. I think since then, we've really like when he came, started and then got hurt. We saw all the good things that we wanted to see from him. I think he can really kind of be unlocked with Russell Wilson. I think he is going to be the focal point of this offense besides running the ball. I just think he's going to be Russell's favorite target. And that normally spells really good fantasy outputs. I understand I'm way higher than everyone, but
well, you're more in line with consensus. That's what that face was. I'm so confused as to.
So
I mean,
Jerry
I guess
Jeudy
I'm confused.
Consensus is 23.
Yeah, he's a back end wide receiver too. The reason I'm confused by that is I know that the quarterback situation in Denver is completely different. Clearly, we know that. And I know that is impactful. But what has Jerry Jeudy done to this point to say that he can be valued as a back-end wide receiver too? I get it. I get the
What has
talent.
Drake London done at this point?
I know. I understand that. And I understand the how contradicting that sounds. But, I am also a Sutton believer. I think that Sutton is definitely going to be the wide receiver one. And I also don't expect that. I think the Broncos are still going to be a run first team. I really do. I know everyone thinks that. Right. And I think, I do think that the pass catchers are going to get a bump, but we have to remember too that the Broncos also gave Tim Patrick a contract. They've still held out hope that KJ Hamler can be a thing. And I know that, Jeudy was drafted same year as Hamler. Hamler's got a different gear, man. And I know Jeudy has a different gear. It's not Hamler's gear. So I put out a tweet today. The Twitter would burn if Jerry Jeudy is outproduced by KJ Hamler for some reason. But there are legit concerns about both of them staying on the field, where Courtland Sutton, the only concern that we have about him being on the field is a freak injury that took him out for a season. And so that's where I think Courtland Sutton is still going to be the one. And then if we're looking at a run first offense, yeah. Are you looking at where I have Jeudy ranked?
Oh my God. We're making a bet, my friend.
We have to. So I'm out on Jeudy at every price point at this point.
You fucking say so, huh? Oh my God.
I haven't watched your 49 is what I edited something. So wide receiver 49 is what I have him. So
all right. So what's this bet? Because are we just who finishes higher, Courtland Sutton versus Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, I think we have to do that.
Okay.
We have to.
We'll figure out the actual
terms.
The terms later, but that's gotta be a bet. Holy hell.
Yeah,
because we could do who finishes closer in these rankings at the end of the year, but that's not gonna go well for you.
I think it'll be close.
I don't see that. Because I don't see Courtland Sutton getting above, like 20, and I don't see Jeudy getting below 40. So,
yeah, where do I have Sutton? I have Sutton lower too. Here's my thing.
You have Sutton at 35.
So I'm just lower overall on Denver. It's not a Russ thing either. It's just simply there are a lot of high volume pass attacks that I would rather invest in. Now, I will say, I think that we're going to see tides change as news reports come in. There may be an opportunity for me. I mean, I guess Jeudy, I'm very, very shocked that he is a wide receiver too, consensus-wise. I'm very shocked about that.
Do you have Jeudy in any of our leagues? Because I'm buying
no.
from you.
I've been out on him since his rookie year, though, because of the things that we saw. I was concerned. I've stayed concerned, and I really haven't had a reason to not be concerned outside of a few flashes here and there, other than I've thought of him highly as a prospect. But
all I know, most people, their biggest gripe with Jeudy is he dropped the ball as a rookie. I'm here to tell you, Deontay Johnson dropped the ball. Amari Cooper dropped the ball. Damn near everyone dropped the goddamn ball besides DeAndre Hopkins. So let's just be real. He is the only one that doesn't drop balls ever. So
But those guys also produced early too. Like that's the difference.
they
And I know
did,
Judy's
but
has been injury related for
yeah,
the
yeah.
most part. So
Judy had a relatively good rookie year. I think if he's healthy, last year we saw a really good year from him, even with this unstable quarterback play of last year. Um, but again, it's just more predicting who Russ is going to like more, who's going to get open more. And when I'm thinking of who's getting open, that's Jerry Judy in this offense. So I don't care if they run the ball a ton. Seattle's always run the ball a ton, and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf had prolific wide receiver 1 weeks all the time. So I'm really not concerned on that aspect.
yeah. All right. From the wide receiver threes, Keenan Allen being low, that's once again my fault. I do think that we're looking at.
Ageist.
I am with Keenan Allen, and I don't know why. Like I feel as though maybe I need to change that. If I'm being completely honest, I still view Keenan Allen as someone that can give you a year or two, probably two, just with his style of play. But we have seen injuries pop up a little bit here and there, and that's kind of the sign that maybe he's going to slow down a bit. And also, we know how I view Joshua Palmer at this point. If you've been on
Yeah.
my Twitter.
So very quickly, the rookies here, we're 11 spots higher on Sky Moore. We are 9 spots higher on Chris Olave. We're actually 10 spots lower on Treylon Burks and Consensus. Consensus has him as a wide receiver 21. I don't know what we're doing here. He's not A.J. Brown. Just because that's kind of the mold he could play does not mean you get a top 10 receiver from him this year, guys. Plain and simple.
Yeah, not only that, but then you talk situation, quarterback situation is bleak.
Yep.
If Tannehill has another bad year, I don't know what they're going to do because the answer is not
Well,
Malik.
Well, in theory, the answer is Malik, but I think we're at the same. We're at a possible 2 to 3 year, quarterback window of not great play. Because even if Malik is the answer, I don't think we get elite play his first year as a starter. I think we can kind of. I see more progression. His best case scenario is progression like Jalen Hurts had, where he's basically just gotten, statistically better. Nothing. There's not this egregious leap that we've seen from other guys, and there's things there, and it's the same kind of character guy, same kind of leadership guy. That's why I think that's where the best comparison is for his future outlook. And Jalen Hurts needed a time, definitely to sit and learn, and he still wasn't really ready when he came in. So we'll see on that aspect. Treylon Burks, while I think is phenomenal talent, he should have a decent year. He's not better. He should not be ranked dynasty-wise better than these guys. Just plain and simple. Where do I even have him?
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
I was
God.
trying to. I have him at 31, so I'm right in line with our consensus.
So I actually have him at 29 because I like the talent. But
well, and that's a good range for him, right? Like a wide receiver 3 right now, and we'll
21 is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a little absurd. Okay, I do want to mention, the Sky Moore stuff. That's also my fault. I do think that he establishes himself as a really good receiver in the Chiefs' offense, and that's going to be valuable.
He's going to be by the start of the season. He'll be closer to this ranking, just because of hype.
Yes, I agree.
Whether it's right or not.
Right. One name I wanted to mention that did not make our wide receiver 1s, 2s, or 3s is Christian Kirk. Actually. What are we doing with Christian Kirk, folks? I just don't understand how you can get one of the most expensive wide receiver contracts. Yeah, I know. Well, at the time, you can get that contract. You can be the clear wide receiver 1, by far the most talented wide receiver in that room. But kind of by a mile, I would say Marvin Jones Jr. I think that he was once that. He is not that anymore. I think Christian Kirk is the clear target leader for the Jaguars. I think that the Jaguars are going to still have to pass a lot because the defense isn't going to be very good. And I think you're looking at a pretty decent middle-aged. He's in his mid-20s. You're looking at a nice 3 to 4 year window where Christian Kirk is going to be startable for fantasy. Why is consensus? We're 11 spots higher. We have him at 37. We're 11 spots higher than him. So he is wide receiver 48 in our rankings. I see this look on your face. Are you the reason that you didn't make our top 36? Did you do this?
I could be. He's wide receiver 43 for me.
Okay.
Why?
Why?
For me, this breaks down to, he got the contract, but we've seen the contract come and the production not before. So with how anemic this offense was last year, and how he's really struggled to even be a wide receiver 2 on his own team, I just need to see more. I will very, very happily rise him up the rankings next year, but for me, I think for safety in Dynasty, I have him as a wide receiver 4, just plain and simple, because I would love him as my wide receiver 4, but I would rather take him there than wide receiver 3, simply because I can't trust it. I mean, if I'm sitting here, I would much rather have Brandon Cooks. I, at this point, would definitely rather have Brandon Ayuk, especially with the Debo uncertainty for the 49ers. Definitely want Mooney. Definitely want Hollywood right now, who's going to do what he was supposed to do in Arizona as wide receiver 2. Sutton, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Williams. These are all guys that I can't put him over. Even Mike Thomas right now, just simply what we've seen from him in the past, until we see actually he's lost a step, I have to put him higher. It's just plain and simple.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Hollywood earlier either. I think
it's because he's like pretty much right on consensus.
He is. For me, I have him at wide receiver 21. Our consensus has him at 29, and we're just a couple spots lower. But I think that Hollywood's a really good value right now, for what it's worth.
I'm at 31, and I'm the Hollywood guy here.
Yeah. I get it. And you're more of a believer in Hopkins moving forward
exactly.
than I am, and that's kind of the difference in thinking. Really quickly,
in this offense really feeds Connor in the red zone. So that's another reason I have them both slightly lower.
True. Really quickly, 37 through 48, we'll give you our 4s. Christian Kirk, Brandon Ayuk, Hunter Renfrow, we're 6 spots higher on. I still think Renfrow is going to be something.
He's going to be good. He's just not going to finish like he did last year. It's okay.
Right. Which, of course not, unless injury happens again.
Yeah, that was just a gift.
Yeah. Brandon Cooks were exactly on consensus with at wide receiver 40. Chase Claypool at 41, 42, Juju Smith-Schuster, 43, Michael Thomas, 44, George Pickens, 45, Tyler Lockett, 46, Odell Beckham, 47, Allen Robinson, 48, Gabe Davis. After that, you've got some other rookies. You've got Calvin Ridley, Gallup, Thielen, Boyd, Woods, guys that are kind of getting up there in age. Again, probably guys that I was ageist on and kicked them down our rankings a little bit. But
100%.
Any comments on the wide receivers before we hit our tight ends?
I don't think I know specifically. I think some of the older guys are pushed up a little bit. At this range, I think it's a value to take kind of the older guy here. Take youth early, take the vets here. So that's why I have it ranked that way. And Ridley, he's just weird to rank. He's hard to rank.
I don't know what to do with him, man. Yeah, I don't get it. He's also old. Like, I know he was
an older rookie, yeah. So
yeah, he's what Calvin Ridley 27 or 28. He's gonna be 29 when he comes back, I think.
Something like that.
Right. Sounds right.
It might be 26 and 27 coming back, but still, it's still relatively old for a guy that's still viewed as really young, and he's not.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's jump over to our tight ends. These, I mean, we'll probably go through our 3s, but obviously not as much analysis because really tight end 1s and 2s are where you want to live. So just kick it off. Number 1, Mark Andrews. Number 2, Kyle Pitts. Number 3, Travis Kelce. 4, George Kittle. Dallas Goedert. 6, Noah Fant. 7, DJ Hawkinson. 8, Pat Freiermuth. 9, Darren Waller. 10, Dawson Knox. 11, Cole Kmet. 12, Trey McBride. Randy, what is the first thing that stands out to you? I think we have to talk about 1 and 2, don't we? It feels like we do.
We'll talk. Okay. First thing that stands out to me is a guy that's not on this list. And I think you and Sean are insane. to not have Dalton Schultz in your top 12. Dude absolutely killed it when he was given the reins last year. He's basically been given the full reins. He's on a franchise tag right now. I do get that, and he's kind of fighting against it. But that usually leads, especially with the Cowboys, to an extension. And I think he's going to be a pretty dominant tight end for them for the next at least 3 years. So at tight end, that's all I fucking care about, especially when we're not talking about the top 3, So I have Schultz at 7, so it's not like something egregious, but he's 15 in our rankings, and that's egregious to me, and that's your 2 faults. So I had to start with that, but getting into Andrews and Pitts, we'll let you circle back to that when he's actually on the screen. Andrews and Pitts, Mark Andrews with the tight end one last year. His situation has literally only gotten better for him. So he has to be the one. Pitts at 2, he just had a quietly amazing rookie season with 900 plus yards. He just didn't get the touchdowns, and that's because it was anemic offense. That's probably going to be an issue again this year. Let's just be plain simple, but he was still a really good tight end last year. Even with that issue, he showed that he was as good as advertised. If he would have been on, like if him and Andrews' situations were switched last year, we would never stop talking about Kyle Pitts. We don't even need the numbers to switch besides maybe a few touchdowns going to Pitts' way.
Yeah.
He could have the same yards and just 3 more touchdowns from the Ravens, and we would be absolutely in love. So I think he deserves to be in the top 3 easy. And yeah.
Top 4 are locked for
yes.
whatever way you want to order it. I don't care. That to me is the tier. I am consistently finding myself taking Mark Andrews because he is not coming off the board as the tight end 1 in startups. You've got Pitts going, you've got Kelsey going, and I think it's worth noting that Travis Kelsey could absolutely finish ahead of Kyle Pitts for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him more valuable in Dynasty for me anymore. I used to think that way. I do play in like 3-year spurts, but it's so much different when you've got a 21-year-old kid that just was a historically good rookie at the tight end position. I think that we could be looking at him being the Travis Kelsey for the next 12 years. And so I'll take that. I have it Andrews, Pitts, Kelsey, Kittle. I think Kittle, when healthy, has an argument to be the 1 here. I truly
we just haven't seen Kittle healthy in 2 years. So I have it this exact order as well. I just think it's right. Just plain simple. I think, like you said, those 4 have to be the top. I think we're getting a little carried away with the Darren Waller hate as well. I still have him at 5. He was banged up last year. I even started seeing TikToks from the people that you don't want to listen to. Not saying that we're the greatest in the world. I just know that those guys aren't. The ones that are saying that Darren Waller is shit because he started the season really well and then got hurt. Because he had a 14 catch game to start and then got hurt. He's going to be an absolute bust this year.
That's bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And the team that he was consistently double teamed because Hunter Renfrow is the second best option on this team. And that's no disrespect to the absolute legend of the 40-year-old Hunter Renfrow. Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are only going to be more open now because you have to double team Devontae Adams, and it doesn't fucking matter. So the thought, if you thought, like we legitimately thought last year going into the season that Robert Tonyan could be easily a top 5 tight end if he just kept that touchdown share and just kept, just because of Adams. Waller is so far above Robert Tonyan, it's ridiculous. And the fact that he's not going to be double teamed anymore is going to absolutely make him electric. Yeah, he's a little bit older than Hawkinson and Schultz and maybe Goddard. But like, it doesn't fucking matter. He could easily finish a top 3 tight end this year, and the next year, and the year after that. Like,
see, I don't think so, man. Because what he had really, what his benefit was he was just getting peppered with targets. Like the dude got targets, and while he will be open
when he was a no name, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, even so then fine. If we don't want to talk about the target share, where I think I want to bring this conversation then is where is he lining up? Because he lined up as the X, and that's what Devontae Adams has traditionally done. And I know that this offense is going to be a little more creative with how they use their pieces than the Raiders of years past. But I do get a little concerned that the outside snaps are going to turn into actual inline snaps, and then that's where like I do have some reservations. Now I don't disagree that he could finish top 5 just based on the nature of the position. I just don't think top 3 is really in his realm of possibilities this year or next year, or as long as Adams is there, because the roles are just going to be so much different than what they have been, I think.
Yeah, because it's not like, the Patriots ever had like Randy Moss and top 5 tight ends.
I understand the
It's not like
Patriots. It's
Gronkowski moved around the field under
but
Josh McDaniels.
I was just gonna say, but most of those teams were not under Josh McDaniels, or at least with
Not
him.
with
Like
Randy Moss. Well,
the Moss team was not. He was on the staff, I think, but I
usually.
don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But Gronk was a lot. There's a lot of years there with McDaniels. That's more of what I'm
yeah,
kind of getting at. Is you can have an elite wide receiver and have a move piece tight end.
right.
And
The other thing that goes into
the
this is Hunter Renfro, then, because I do
yeah,
think
but
that
Hunter Renfro is always going to be kind of he's going to be one of the problem is Carr now has his 3 favorites, so there's no
exactly.
longer a favorite. Adams has always been his favorite since college. They practiced together every offseason. Darren Waller quickly became his favorite because of the absolute talent level he had, and Renfro became his favorite because of trust and the ability to shake and get open. Now, I don't know how the touchdowns go on this team. Waller usually is an anemic touchdown guy,
Yeah,
but I really don't know. Honestly, if we're being real, there's going to be fucking rub routes between Renfro and Adams the whole time, and I just send
that's
6
yeah,
people over there
yeah,
because I don't know
and
what you
still
do.
lose.
I don't know
Yeah,
what you do with man in that situation. Um,
yeah, true.
so, but Waller's never been a high touchdown guy. I have every time we've done our projections, I've brought his target share down every single time, and I just even then he's still top 5 because
Yeah,
he's so electric with the ball and he's so efficient when he actually catches the ball. And that was with knowing he's getting double teamed. Just the fact that those are going to be far and few between, this year.
yeah,
That was backwards. I said that.
yeah,
But it just makes me fall in love with Waller again
yeah.
as a dynasty asset. And his age doesn't really matter for him. He's got fresh legs for his age. So
He does. I do.
in 3
I
years,
find
it'll
that
matter. But
situation. I find that situation very interesting. I'm excited to see how it does play out. I think the Raiders are going to have a really really good offense, and we haven't really talked about that just yet.
they're going
So
to have to.
yeah,
That's the other aspect. That division is putting up 50 a fucking game.
yeah, that's true. Last point on the tight end ones. Um, so we had a discussion about Noah Fant and Pat Fryermuth, and you have said
No.
And you have said that you value Fryermuth higher than Fant as the current situations stand. Do you stand behind that take? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. Where
that's
I
what my
push,
rankings dictate. I have Frymuth at 9 and Fant at 11.
okay.
Fant, while he should have broken into that upper echelon, he still hasn't. He is now in a new situation with the same quarterback, and we'll see what that kind of changes to. I think if this has changed to Jimmy G or Baker, I think I might be at least. I think it's a toss up then for me. I think I'd have them both tied basically. Fryermuth really showed out a lot last year, especially as we got deeper into the season. He got more trusted in this offense. This offense will go through a little bit of a change, not just because the quarterback's coming in, but um, it's not going to be this plot away running team. you have now your top receiver, and then Claypool is an incredible receiver that might be on the way out just because of the new incoming rookies, and you have two stud rookies coming in that can really perform. Um, I think Fryermuth is going to become the safety valve a lot of the times. I think he's going to be the red zone guy because that's
Yeah.
usually what the Steelers offense dictates is running or throwing to your tight end. Um, you know, I think we saw enough from him last year and his youth and his style of play for the Pittsburgh team. I don't think he ever comes off the field. So Noah Fant isn't necessarily that, even though he is growing into that. I do think he's becoming a better blocker. Um,
Yeah.
Honestly, the second he gets an increased quarterback output, I'll be a little bit more comfortable with Fant. And I do love Fant. I think this is weird. It feels like
I
all
know.
of my guys from the last 3 years I've been just shitting on tonight. But
Well,
I'm just more conservative with them right now. Noah Fant at 6, I think is egregious. And I have an 11. It's not like this is ridiculous, but I don't. I know Hawkinson hasn't done enough, but I think you have to put Hawkinson and Waller over Fant for me.
yeah. See, I view Hawkinson the way you view Fant. I have Hawkinson at 11, and once again, I am the reason Fant is so high. So Fant, you talked about the youth with Fryermuth. Fant is only a year older than Pat Fryermuth. He
Yeah,
came into the league as a very, very young player, uber athletic. I do think that there is increased target competition now, despite going from Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, etc. I do think that he's going to be battling for targets, but I also think that the Seahawks offense does look a little bit different this year.
we'll
So
see.
I do, and that's kind of in the projection. And again, remember, you said if his quarterback situation changes, I'm always trying to rank a year ahead. I think that it will next year. So I think that we could return to Noah Fant's elite status at some point. So
Yeah. Lastly, for the tight end ones, I think you guys are a bit early on McBride. Um, we
you're
both love
probably
the
right.
talent, huh?
I said you're probably right.
But I am at 17. He is going to be fighting for snaps this year with Zach Ertz, who I do have ranked below him. Don't get me wrong, but Ertz is very, very capable still, and he will be. Him and Hollywood are going to be the go-to guys when the season kicks off. Tight ends notoriously struggle early on. I don't view McBride anywhere near the Kyle Pitts territory, so I don't expect him to have 900 yards this year. So I just think he has a relatively okay to good rookie year, and I believe Ertz re-signed for 2 years as well. So it just caps like the early hit for Dynasty. So it's just why I have him as a middling tight end 2 for now.
Yeah.
That fight to get into the back end tight end 1s every year is an absolute bloodbath and an absolute guessing game. So to put him there rookie year when he's the tight end 2 of his team is scary for me. At least to start the year as the tight end 2.
Yeah. I think you're right that I'm a year early on it, but I do think that after this year, Ertz is gone, and then we look at I don't have faith in Cliff's offense, so I don't
That's the
actually
other
know why I
thing.
have him ranked the way I do.
That's the other reason I have him lower, and that's why I have Hollywood and Hopkins 26 and 31, is because I'm not sure Cliff comes back, even though they did extend him. I think there's a decent chance that they miss the playoffs, and you're not getting rid of Kyler, you're not getting rid of Hopkins. You're paying for Hollywood now. I think if you look and they're trying to blame someone, it's Cliff, and then we have a whole different situation. So I'm not quite sure what to make of it then.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's get to the tight end 2s quickly. 13, Mike Gesicki. 14, David Njoku. 15, Dalton Schultz. 16, Irv Smith. 17, Hunter Henry. 18, Albert Akui Buonum. Damn it, I haven't said that in a long time. Alberto. 19, Zach Ertz. 20, Brevin Jordan. 21, Evan Engram. 22, Tyler Higbee. 23, Bob Tunyon. 24, Greg Dulcich. Interesting ad here at the back end of the tight end 2s. What stands out, Randy?
I need you to explain Dalton Schultz. Because I already
Okay.
went on my rant.
Okay. So my explanation for where I think Dalton Schultz will finish this year has nothing to do with the contract. I know he's on the franchise tag. I just don't think. Now, here's the thing. I think that the Cowboys offense is going to take a step back. Again, I cited that for CD. I think Amari helped everyone when he was on the field. I think that
Yeah,
Amari
there's
does.
no doubt. Yeah.
Right. And I do think that this is going to be a year they're going to self scout, they're going to look back and they're going to say, who do we want having the ball more? Dalton Schultz or Tony Pollard? We know that running backs and tight ends work in the same area of the field. I think Tony Pollard was more dynamic with his touches. I think he's going to get an uptick. I think Dalton Schultz is going to come back down. And while I think he could finish as a back end one this year, I don't know if I would project that out over a 3-year period like you are. And that's where, maybe this year I feel okay about him. And I do think that he's a pretty good value. But I mean, I could be wrong. And here's the thing with Dalton Schultz is we have one actual solid year of production. We know that the
1.5.
1.5, you're right. Blake Jarwin was successful. We know that the Cowboys tight end can be successful. I just don't know that Dalton Schultz is going to be the Cowboys tight end long term either. So
I think he signs a 3 or 4 year deal by the
and
end
then
of the
I
year.
bump him up. And I've talked this whole freaking episode about how I want to be a year early, but I want to be a year early on if he's not a Cowboy here. That's kind of my thinking.
Even then, like, is he going to sense, like, where is he going to sign that he's not going to have an opportunity? With how he's played, I just don't see that being an issue. I just put it simple with Dalton Schultz to say that Tony Pollard is the reason he's not a tight end one. We're just doing too much with Tony Pollard, man. I love that talent, but we're not going to be here saying that Zeke will never be a running back one again because of Tony Pollard. He was a running back one last year. Dalton Schultz is not going to be a tight end one because Tony Pollard's going to catch balls. He's going to be tight end one again. I know you said he would be, but I'm just saying, like, Tony Pollard's not that fucking good, guys. I love Tony Pollard. He's not that fucking good. To tank two people's values just by name value alone. But I know I know what your argument was, but like Dalton Schultz, like if you rank him, 10 through 12 or 10 through 13, I wouldn't have this argument. Like I said, I have him at 7, and I'm fine with being the highest on him, but when he lands at like outside, that range, like really, like the dude that was a top 5 last year, like you think he's going to be 10 and 15 now? I don't know, man.
That's the thing though, with tight ends, it's so volatile year to year. We don't really see consistency out of guys like Schultz. Because like even I look at Schultz like I looked at Austin Hooper, and I remember being very wrong. Well, I mean, you look at what Austin Hooper was, very much so a product of the offense that he was in. Very much so a product of having good chemistry with his quarterback. And so if we think about, maybe Schultz goes out and he gets that Austin Hooper highest paid tight end deal after this year. And then what are we doing? Because, I mean, maybe the talent translates a little better than what Austin Hooper was. But I remember being wrong on Austin Hooper, and so I kind of have now overcorrected, I guess. But
yeah,
we'll see.
And with Hooper, he seemed to like lose a step and not make as many contested catches as he once did. It was really weird, kind of dip and play where I don't expect that from Schultz if he ended up leaving next year. But yeah.
Quickly,
moving on.
Yeah. So quickly, I wanted to bring up David Njoku because I think that after this contract that he just snagged with the perceived quarterback upgrade, if the quarterback actually gets on the field, and also just what this Cleveland Browns offense will look like moving forward, I think David Njoku has top 5 potential. I don't think that's an outlandish statement with what the current situation of their other weapons looks like. I don't think that the Browns are going to run 8 million times a game like they used to. I do think they will still. We've talked about this where And this year probably, but then moving forward, I think it's going to be more pass happy than ever before under Stefanski. So I think Njoku is a tight end 1 in Dynasty. I have him at tight end 12 just to hedge the bet a bit, but I think that we could look at some top 10 finishes.
Yeah, I still can't put him in that tight end 1 because we truly haven't seen it yet.
1 year.
I have him at 15, and I have him in the same category as Kmet and Irv Smith. I think all three deservedly could be tight end 1s. We still have to see it, really like fully impact. And this is where, honestly, we kind of had Schultz and Knox last year, though, and those two both took off. So I'm perfectly fine with it. You just have to see it. And while we did see better play from Njoku last year, I mean, I just saw him, catch a couple balls. To be a tight end 1, you had to be a consistent catcher, and that's still where he hasn't fully improved. And we'll see. I will say though, Baker with his bigger body guys always went high, because that's usually where Mark Andrews liked it, I think. So we'll see, and we've seen that with the Ravens. So
yeah.
We'll see what Deshaun does with these guys. But people forget quickly, Jordan Akins was a very capable tight end waiver wire pickup and flex player, even with his year with Deshaun Watson, and he is nowhere near the talent level of David Njoku. They have the same build and type of play, though.
Yeah. Njoku is a freak that really, we've seen the flashes of it coming to fruition, and I think that this is going to be the unlock, and I think the Browns think that too, which is a good sign. Any other notes on the tight end 2s? I just want to really quickly go through the tight end 3s before we get out of here.
Dulcich we're 8 spots higher on. I think he takes over the role at the end of the year, and he will be the tight end 1 for this team going forward. He's just shown so much to this, off season, and we know teams absolutely love his talent and what he's going to grow with. And he is a pretty balanced player as well. So, Alberto is going to get the chance, but I think Dulcich is better.
He is. He's a better receiver, especially.
Yes, which is what we care about for this.
Exactly. The Alberto thing was, and I think Alberto, based on opportunity, should be ranked within the tight end 2 range, because I do think you're right. I think he's going to see the first half of the year at least, and if he produces, maybe he holds it, and then we're left with holding the bag with Dulcich. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that there's a very real possibility that Dulcich is the best rookie tight end this year, receiving yards wise, and
I have a different person in mind.
Yeah, okay.
We'll get to it.
Is it on our tight end 3s?
Keep going. No.
All right. Well, tight end 3s. Let's get to those. Quickly, Hayden Hurst at 25, 26, Jelani Woods, 27, Austin Hooper, 28, Tommy Tremble, 29, Jeremy Ruckert, 30, Harrison Bryant, 31, O.J. Howard, 32, Gerald Everett, 33, Adam Troutman, 34, Rob Gronkowski, 35, Jonnu Smith, 36, Logan Thomas. Anything stand out? Do you care about any of these guys other than stashes? Because, I mean, I'm looking...
Ruckert for stash. Everett has a chance to do really good this year. Logan Thomas could be relevant for this year for sure.
Agreed.
What stands out is 34, Rob Gronkowski, a guy that, as of right now, is retired, pretty much.
Yep.
And that spells where I was going. I think Cade Otton has a chance to be the tight end 1 for the rookies.
Okay.
Coming in, I don't think, what have we seen from what is this guy name? Cameron Braid that would give a shit. I think Cade Otton can take that role, and he's athletic enough. I think Brady will, be able to connect with him easy, and I think he could be the tight end 1 of the rookies. Is he the most talented of them? No, but that doesn't fucking matter when you have the best quarterback of all time throwing you the ball.
It's true. I think that's a pretty good call. I think we could definitely see that, especially if Gronk stays that way. if Gronk plays, he's probably a tight end one, just
Yeah,
based
he
on
is.
Godwin being out for what I would presume at least the first 4 to 6 weeks, at least. I think there's a chance that Chris Godwin doesn't play until closer to playoff time.
He
Um,
is. Reports are he's pretty far ahead of schedule.
yeah, that seems to be all the reports. I do get a little nervous that
Well,
they come back
Michael
too
Thomas
early.
isn't.
True, he's the only one in the world. I don't even think he's
He's
hurt anymore.
3 years behind schedule. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then after that, once Gronk and Brady are done, which will be next year or the year
Yeah,
after.
I honestly like. Oh, we know Brady's back. I 100% would not be shocked if Gronk isn't back. He's already retired once. His body is thoroughly beat up. He's got so many outside opportunities at this point.
Yeah.
His body's much worse off than Brady's, and that's where I think the difference is here. Even though they're almost like Brady's like 10 years older. It's just it's the life of a tight end, especially that physical of one. I truly, as of right now, I don't think Gronk's playing, so that's why I'm very high on Otten. I still think I'm not drafting him to be this guy. I just think there's a chance he can become that, and that's tight end one of the rookies could be 500 yards if we're being real here. So, it's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything outside of the tight end threes other than Otten? We're low on Uzama. I just think that's faith in Jeremy Ruckert because we were higher on Ruckert.
They brought in another tight end too, didn't they?
Yeah, Tyler Conklin.
Yeah. Right? So there's 3 tight ends there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot, and also Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, having Michael Carter. I just don't feel very comfortable about the tight end. Well, I do feel comfortable about the long-term outlook of the tight end there, just not once Ruckert is that. And then outside of that, and then Cole Turner, I'm a little higher on personally. I think we are consensus-wise as well, as just a guy who might be the heir apparent to Logan Thomas in Washington. And we know Wentz likes his tight ends. I think that's another sleeper pick as maybe the best rookie tight end. But
could be.
All right. That'll do it for this episode. This is a long one, I know, but needed to talk through the rest of our Dynasty rankings. Randy, what do we have coming up after this?
We have a Dynasty Superflex startup mock that we're going to go through. I'm not sure how many rounds currently. We'll kind of talk through that, but that'll probably take up a majority of the show. I don't believe we have scheduled any other segments besides league news on that one, but I'll have to double check. But if we do another segment, it'll just shrink the mock. And I mean, past most startups is like 25 rounds because of the taxi spots. So most of those drafts past like 18, 20 are pretty gross, as we're experiencing right now. So I think it's fair that maybe we cut it off somewhere around there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that'll be exciting next week. That will do it for this episode, though. So make sure wherever you're listening, you like, subscribe, review, do all the fun things. 5-star review, 4 or 5-star review. If we're any lesser, just shoot me a DM on Twitter and tell me how I suck. Don't make a TikTok about me. You can if you want. But
I'm very happy that was on my For You page.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Go check out my latest tweet if you haven't. Probably not latest if you're listening to this on the podcast, because I will absolutely tweet more before that.
Of course. You have a problem.
I do, for sure. But yeah, like Randy said, next week, Dynasty startup mock draft. Hopefully get you ready for some startups. It's almost, startup season again. Obviously, startup season as always, but I know that people are starting to get that itch again to draft. Other than that, anything else to add, Randy?
I'm picked for the Scott Fish Bowl again this year. Still deciding if Christian's doing it or not, or trying to do it.
So
I think at this point,
I need to check my email. If I'm being honest, I got added to the list on Twitter. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I'm in it. I need to check.
You need to check.
Well, I need to check to make sure that I applied. That's the problem. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But I would like to. I think I've decided I do want to be in it. So fingers crossed.
So we'll be competing to that again this year, most likely. Both of
Hopefully.
us, most likely both of us.
Hopefully. Also, I did want to mention that we will bring back the depth chart breakdowns analysis that we did last week.
It's just back burner with trying to pump in information quicker so we can have more discussions with it.
Plus, some of those things will flesh out in mandatory minicamps here in the next. It might help us kind of give you the better content. So, all right, that will do it for this episode of The Cut. We will talk to you guys next Monday. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We'll talk to you then. Later.